Okay, guys, we are back. We had a nice break, and now we're going in again into Great Ace Attorney 2. Now, we are on Chapter 3. We already did quite a bit of background in Chapter 3 on our last stream. And I believe we are about to do, like, a duo investigative sequence. I forget exactly what they call it, but the one that you do with Sholmes where he like says ridiculous things and you have to prove wrong why his points are wrong and then figure out what actually happened. And we are doing that in the wax museum. So it should be cool. We have a case, right? They assigned us to a case. We went and saw that guy at the clock building with the like lion hair. It's not really lion hair, it's just like giant mutton chops, I think. Let's get it started up and see what info comes to light again. I'm sure once we start playing, we'll remember some of the stuff that was going on. Also, cheers, I went and made a gin and soda, so we are officially pre-gaming Among Us. Okay. Armin, no, not what the yuck. Why don't you go get a drink and let's cheers, okay? You got Starbies? Alright, fine. You doing a little... Are you doing tea? Or are you having an afternoon coffee? I feel like that's not very like you. Ding! Well, let's get started then, shall we? Before Madame Tuspels vents her anger. Just what I was waiting to hear, my dear fellow. Coffee? Decaf? So, Madame Tuspels, in accordance with our agreement, you shall now have the pleasure of seeing this famously great detective and temporary exhibit at work. Now, if he's having a nice coffee, we know he's not feeling well. Alright, it's time with the poses. I love the music that plays during this, too. To begin with, we must ask ourselves what exactly is afoot here in this museum. Okay, so wait, Tom, I need to catch you up on my theory about this. First of all, this lady with the witch hat, Queen. Love her. She owns a wax exhibit full of wax figures that are incredibly lifelike. Now listen. The Kazuma on the ship was a wax figure. I am dying on this hill. The Kazuma on the ship was a wax figure. And the real Kazuma is in a cloak, a hooded cloak, with Van Zeeks right now. And Ryunosuke went to visit him because we heard that Van Zeeks got attacked. And he was fine. But he saw the hooded figure and it was like a... Something about him is so familiar because that's my boyfriend. It was like a feral boyfriend instinct that Naruhodo had. And I am going with it. So we just need to let this unfold, but that is my current theory about like the overarching thing in the game. And we don't know why he would have faked his death or who's behind it. The real Kazuma Asugi theory. We are writing this shit right now. Quick, let's go into all the other Ace Attorney streams and we'll share it. Just kidding, don't do that. That would be awful. I like how that guy got banned, by the way. To begin with, we must ask ourselves, what exactly is afoot here in this museum? The answer is revealed by the bundle of banknotes protruding so helpfully from your bag. Wait, what happened? We were playing Danganronpa Another story time, and this guy shows up, who was named after one of the characters in that game. Always a red flag, by the way. When you're playing a VN and somebody joins with the namesake of the game you're playing, like an actual character in the game, it is always a cringe child that is going to try to ruin something for you. I have seen it on my stream, I have seen it on several other streams. It's just the fact of the matter. And, like, we were not at the major plot twist of Danganronpa Another, which... Mute stream if you care about Danganronpa Another's plot. It's a Danganronpa Korean fan game. It is worth playing. The major twist was that, the main character wasn't who you thought he was the entire game and was in fact someone else. But he lost his memories, so he was acting like a different version of himself. It was convoluted as fuck. But there was some guy that came in here and was like, so what do you think about this theory about the real, and then the main character's name? And we were like, okay, well, if you're asking me that, you are literally telling me that that is going to get brought up in the game. You literally wouldn't say it otherwise, you know? And we were like, with him the whole time. Hi Blackbird. Happy Saturday. Also the shady, no it's not. Danganronpa Another 1 was fine. 2 was not fantastic though. In my estimation, some 200 pounds. The clown saved one, barely. I legit teared up during that trial. No, I liked Danganronpa Another 1. I did. I basically liked the entirety of that game. But Danganronpa Another 2 I was not so keen on. Another one did have the hour-long epilogue that Pengy mashed through. That was Danganronpa Another 2. Danganronpa Another 1 had a very lengthy endgame sequence, and I read the whole thing. It was draining on me, though, because we were like, it was like a finale day, and we were playing till, like, midnight. I liked it because of the ultimate maid. No, wrong. She was super plot relevant, which is not my favorite. Hi, Kevin. Is it raining again?
On and off.
Oh. I know I told her that you're coming. Oh boy, Kevin's taking the cat outside. Kevin!
Let's go back in. You need to see the rain too, okay?
It smells nice outside.
Yeah. You got a good whiff of the rain.
Well, welcome home. She needs her vitamin D. It's not sunny though. It's like it's raining and cloudy. Trying to say she needs her H2O, Tom. That is all my own money. So what does this large sum of money reveal? Well, maybe. Ah, not as much as the involuntary glance you cast, it would seem, Madam to Spells. Yes, the answer lies where your eyes now fall. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that public notice. Your cat used to want to go outside, and then after a couple years, she finally realized how much our winters suck and decided that she's good? Yeah, well. I can't imagine she wanted to become a Canadian snowcat. She definitely looked in this direction, it's true. But I'm not sure she'd sell any of her waxworks, even for 200 pounds. Oh? She must pour her heart and soul into making them, don't you think? Over and above the wax. Where's Miss Susato? Susato is in Japan. So, this current case, we have Ryunosuke still in Britain with Sholmes and Iris and the whole motley crew, and Susato is in Japan. Because she was called back by her father pretending to be sick. So there's something going on. We just don't know what it is yet. Well, we need to bring her back. I miss her. We had her in the first trial, and the first two trials, because we controlled her in Chapter 1, and then Chapter 2 was a flashback to when she was still here. If it were me, I wouldn't sell them for anything. For that much money, I would, but it sounds like that makes me a bad person. Well, anyway, I wonder if the 200 pounds could have some other significance. Let's follow that furtive glance again and see if there's anything else that could explain it. Bring back Saseki as your new assistant. Okay, Dots. Whoosh. Thank you, Rosen. Dots has been banned. Just kidding. Hi, Dots. Happy Saturday. The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that. Oh. I love Sholmes. What's that note doing pinned on the wall there? Oh yes, let's see. Dear Madame Tispels, we've taken the prisoner from this room. The price for his safe return is 200 pounds. Have the money ready by noon on 23rd October. What? This is... It's like the sort of thing that's left behind when someone's kidnapped. Yes, it's a ransom note. Exactly.
Take that!
The significance of the 200 pounds is revealed by that ransom note. Quite so, and we must congratulate these criminals on their inventiveness abducting a waxwork. 200 pounds is no small ransom fee, yet you clearly intend to pay it. The model in question has special importance. So I put together all the money I have. Pay me no mind why I just examined that. I was like, what if the numbers 139 are on the armband I got from Kazuma? But, no. Sometimes you have to press R to open the court record. It's just a habit. True. In summary, then, the 200 pounds you have in your handbag is ransom money. Now let us explore the next curiosity with which we are presented. Who is the portly gentleman stretched out so peacefully on the floor? It would appear the man has suffered a severe shock, the cause of which is clearly known to you. Unfortunately, madam, keeping secrets does not appear to be your forte. What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the 200 pounds. So if the waxwork was kidnapped, where does that leave us in terms of who that man is? We could just ask him when he comes around. I think the point of this exercise is to understand the beauty of the deduction process, Iris. Yes, you're right. Hurley's trying so hard, we mustn't let him down. Well, there's little doubt that he suffered a shock. That much seems clear. But in that case, what's Madame Tispels trying to hide? Let's have a closer look around. I also kind of thought he was dead. She's so... This design is so amazing. Is the hair giving Genshin? A little bit, yeah. But Genshin hair is normal on girls. It's only the guys that I notice it. What really left the portly gentleman stretched out on the floor? I don't see anything that's selectable. Oh no. That means I'm missing something obvious. Thanks, Tom. I'm glad I'm not alone in my obliviousness. What left him sprawled out? I don't see anything up here. Is it something behind her? Long hair braid. Madame Tuspels has very long hair, doesn't she? Yes, but you couldn't tell looking at her from the front. You know, it looks rather like a whip, don't you think? The sort of whip that could have floored the gentleman with a single crack! That seems a little far-fetched, even for you, Runo. Yeah, I thought it was for a sec. It was just a gag. What am I missing here? What really left him stretched out on the floor? The camera's really sensitive. Maybe it's intentional. It's like the only thing I can click on. So she was prepared to pay all that money to get her waxwork back again. It really must have been a very special model of a mass murderer. Just how special can a model of a ruthless killer be? Well, anyway, we can be fairly sure the man lying on the floor didn't take it. I had quite a time adjusting my stick dead zones in my pineapple for this game. Oh, I bet. I suppose we should leave him in peace. She's looking this way. This is still amusing. Oh. Am I missing something obvious? Usually with these games, it is something that, like, you just have to adjust the camera in the right way. Really? But I'm not getting, like, the indicator that I can click on something anywhere. What am I not seeing? What on her side that's opposite to the bag? Oh. Some kind of waxworking tools? I can't seem to really look at them. This is just Madame Tispel's right hand, isn't it? Yes, it must be. I can clearly see her left hand after all. Oh, but wait a minute. This is a left hand as well. Look. Don't say such creepy things, Iris, please. It seems very stiff, too. In fact, it's really hard. You mean it's made of wax? Ma'am? What dealt the man such a shocking blow was, of course, the waxwork hand. Oh, Dots, my goodness. Indeed. With a solid waxwork limb, one could deliver a very substantial blow. How could you? The hand protruding from the bottom of your cape. It ought to be a right hand, but closer inspection reveals that it is in fact a left hand. And somewhat masculine as well. In other words, it does not belong to you, madame. It is the hand of a waxwork model. Yeah! Some of the visitors to my museum can be troublesome. They meddle with the exhibits and cause damage. So you mean that arm? Oh my god, she just beats people with it? Yes, this gentleman saw fit to try to remove it as a souvenir. No small keepsake. Talking like a whole branch of a cherry tree. Like taking a whole branch of a cherry tree when you go to view the blossoms. I'm afraid I had to teach the man a lesson. You confronted the man and tried to take the arm back. And the result? The scene we see before us. He was knocked unconscious. A point we may need to revisit later, but for the time being, we have our conclusion. Yes, the killer in this special exhibit has been kidnapped. Okay. The question that arises then is what has become of the waxwork that changed hands? Let us consider that problem for a moment. You cannot possibly. What immediately strikes me about this conundrum is the young man standing over there. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe his neckerchief. According to Mr. Sholmes, the yellow neckerchief is a sign to the other policemen that some crime is underway. The way of communicating with his colleagues without revealing his identity. Yes. It's a secret that's closely guarded by Scotland Yard. That Mr. Sholmes didn't hesitate to give away. Well, uncovering secrets is in any true detective's nature, of course. Right. Anyway, judging from Madame Tispel's reaction to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, I think perhaps we might not have identified the man quite correctly. Is he in the picture? What the? The man has a stub sticking out of his shoulder where his arm should be. Ah, well that settles it then. Right, this isn't a real person at all. His entire arm's been ripped off from the shoulder down. His arm's been... Of course, that ties in with what we just found out. Okay. Maybe he's in the process of getting a mechanical arm installed. I've seen hats like this in Japan as well. They're called flat caps, aren't they? Yes, or hunting caps. Hurley's hat is called a deer stalker, by the way. Hunting, stalking, the British certainly seem keen on catching game. Every time I see a deer stalker, I automatically think of Mr. Sholmes. But a flat cap makes me think of a Japanese country gentleman somehow. In other words, people from all walks of life wear all different types of hats, so that doesn't really help us. A secret scarf sign to warn other agents of an ongoing crime. I know, it sounds so thrilling, doesn't it? Maybe I'll try to work it into next month's installment. But then the police's secret will be revealed to all of London's 6 million inhabitants. Well, they'll just have to come up with a new sign, I suppose. How does this 10-year-old manage to have such terrifying influence? So wait, what's the question? It's what reveals the identity of the young man? What reveals the identity? Well, I guess I could say the flat cap? I mean, the neckerchief says that he's a policeman, right? I can't really, observe anything else, so I think we might have to submit the hat. I can't go up or down with this one, so we're just kind of, like, going in circles. What is this?
Take that!
Oh, this is wrong. He's a run-of-the-mill Londoner with an eye for style. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so I'm wrong. Secret scarf sign appears to back up the idea. It does seem plausible. Am I supposed to do the shoulder stub? Or maybe there's just something I haven't seen yet. And there's like nothing else on him. And I can't scroll anymore this way. Is there anything in his hand? No. The pictures apparently don't mean anything. Alright, let's just go for the shoulder stub.
Take that!
Oh, okay. Sure. Who is this fellow? To find the answer, we need only observe. His shoulder stub. Such a boneless human walks this earth. Of that, I can assure you. In other words, the man standing here, the young Sergeant John Clay, is in fact, defying all odds, a waxwork model. I seem to remember it was you who concluded he was a real person in the first place, Mr. Sholmes. He has become quite a celebrity in London, being the winner of no less than 3 policing awards last year. I simply had to make a model of the man. Naturally! What other explanation could there be? And it was this detective's arm that was pulled off by the man on the floor in the special exhibit, wasn't it? Next, we turn our attention to the old man sat before him with the particularly unsightly visage. We've been watching closely and he hasn't moved a muscle, almost in fact, as if he were a waxwork. Ah, but you... Your reaction only confirms my suspicions, madame. I noticed it at once, of course. Observe! The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the price tag! Killer policeman called Ottermole, was it? Was he well known? It was all over the papers last year, but I can't say I know what he looks like. It's a very low price, though. Threepence isn't much money. Only enough for a few measly hours of gas in Mr. Garrideb's delightful lodgings, in fact. So, this is the special killer taken from the special exhibit, is it? The waxwork that somebody stole from the museum and tried to ransom for £200. Is this crusty old killer policeman Ottermole really? Perhaps we should have a look around again and see if another idea crops up. That's probably the scarf price tag. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Alright, before I click this, guys, give me a second to just check in with Kev since he got home. I'll be back in like 2 minutes. Well, Kevin, just say the word and we can get some people to league with you. Not us being left with the gross, twitching man. Well, like, come on, guys. They're acting like he's a wax person, and now this is what we deal with. Look at this! The old man's tapping his foot like crazy. He seems to be fast asleep, though. He's not tapping his foot consciously, then. So you mean, it must be a twitch. Never mind that. The point is, waxworks don't tap their feet. Or twitch! And look at his arm, too. We've seen a scarf like that somewhere else around here, haven't we? Oh. Wait. Right over there? Okay.
Take that!
Okay, it is an obvious twitch, so fair enough. The telltale sign that instantly proves whether or not this old man is a waxwork is the obvious twitch. Even the most realistic waxworks do not exhibit a twitch. In other words, this splendid old man is in fact a genuine member of Scotland Yard. Slight shift in your choice of adjectives, then. And there you have it! Well, Madame Tispels? Well, what? Hmm? Yeah, they're playing on her name.
They just released the Justin Bieber one.
She made Justin Bieber IRL unthinkable. She's iconic in this game, though.
We had a lot of them.
It was me who contacted the police and demanded that someone come in the first place. He's clearly fatigued. He's clearly fatigued. He is sound asleep. But then, what's the tag about showing a price of 3 pence? No doubt the price tag is of the muffler, which the old Bobby purchased recently at a local market. That is really strange. That's a wax doll? Oh, God. Ugh. I presume you've observed the scarf tied around his arm. Does that not strike you, Mr. Naruhodo? Yes, the secret sign used by detectives to show that some criminal activity is currently underway. Of course, because, as you know, there has been just such criminal activity happening here. As you deduced from the very beginning, Detective. So, it would seem that we finally arrive at the truth. The waxwork of the especially ruthless killer from the special exhibit has been kidnapped. And Scotland Yard are already investigating. But the model's whereabouts remain a mystery. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this horrifying puzzle. I love those segments of the game. That one was a little too obvious during that last part, though. They were just throwing you a bone for the arm. I like overthought that segment. Oh, you're talking about the arm behind her. I thought you meant the guy with the missing arm. I was like, what do they want me to present? There's like very little you can even click on. Yeah, we were a little stumped on finding the hand creeping out from behind her cloak. All sorts of people visit my museum here. Men and women, young and old. Sometimes they drop in just for a short time on their way back from the pub. I welcome them all. But if anyone tries to damage my exhibits, I do not take it lightly. Anyway. Your great deduction was even more enchanting than I had been led to believe. It was a pleasure, my dear madame. I'm gratified that you enjoyed the spectacle. And as for your rough customers, I've no doubt he'll regain consciousness shortly and return home. What concerns me more is the waxwork from the special display, if it was indeed genuinely abducted. Yes, tragically, it was. Then I would ask you to recount to us the events surrounding the stolen waxwork, in as much detail as possible, if you please. Very well. But after I have told you what I know, I must insist that you return to your work. The talents of a great detective could be put to better use, I feel. But as you wish. Okay, let's talk. Tell us more about the stolen waxwork, please. It was some days ago now, when I came in here one morning. I immediately noticed that a waxwork was missing from the special exhibit here. It is your most prominent display, so that's why the curtains were closed. And I found the ransom note in its place. The culprit must have broken in during the night and taken it then. So this waxwork that was stolen, it was a model of some horrible criminal, I suppose. Of a particularly horrible criminal, in fact. The killer who left a more profound scar on society than any other, I would say. The Professor. Not a name I've heard of. So, Mr. Naruhodo, it seems the circle is complete. Sorry? The Professor case happened at around the time I was born, didn't it? Indeed it did, Iris. 10 years ago. A series of murders that rocked the capital. 10 years ago. Yes, at exactly the time that Baron Van Zeeks graduated from university, in fact. What? Surely he's not saying... So, the big event that changed Mr. Reaper's life. As you've surmised, it was the Professor case. Who was this Professor, then? Okay. The person that was in school with Van Zeeks was the person we're defending, right? The guy that, tried to transmit a human to the tower. The defendant, okay. Okay, just making sure I have that fact straight. Okay. Hairbrain by name, yes. It was a series of gruesome murders that had all of London gripped in terror about a decade ago. Also, now that Kevin is home, I'm free to, resume my auto. Hold a moment. Uh-oh, Kevin's RTing. After 5 victims were killed, the man was arrested and put to death. And now he's immortalized here in wax for all Londoners to admire and enjoy, though, of course, he happens to be absent at present, more on account of the abduction. But I don't understand. How is this all related to Lord Van Zeeks? You must first understand, my dear fellow, why it is that the Professor earned such infamy. It was due to the victims he chose, some of Whitehall's finest. What do you mean, Hurley? Those murdered by the Professor were some of the highest members of the British aristocracy, members of the nobility, even royalty. It sent shockwaves through the country's administration. Members of the... Ah, wait, of course! What Professor Harebrain said. Lord Van Zeeks is from a family with noble blood. Oh gosh! It was the 5th victim that led the Professor to the Professor's arrest. The last of the killer's prey was a young noble by the name of... Clint Van Zeeks. No. I don't believe it. Van Zeeks? I'm sure you can piece together the rest yourself. In the wake of his older brother's murder, the young Baron pursued a career as a prosecutor, and eventually became the Reaper we know today. I had no idea Lord Van Zieks had such a tragic past. Well, I'm afraid that's all I can say on the matter, for the time being at least. After all, I have work to do. As a waxwork exhibit. I'm afraid I shall have to excuse myself as well. Oh, yes, of course. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. She is so sketch. The story is getting really good, though. I am genuinely very curious as to how this is all tied together. Sorry, I hit my mic. Yeah. Well, none of the predicted scenarios I've been analyzing involved you coming to visit me here. I really hope that my theory about Kazuma's correct. It's been too long, it really has. I'm delighted to see you, Baron. Barak? What? Has it been Barak this whole time and I've been reading Baron? I've been calling him Baron and it's been Barak. Okay. Well... It's been 10 years, and here we are, meeting in a prison of all places. I can't forgive myself for what happened to Mr. Assman. I just can't. I still can't believe it could happen. Tomorrow, the court will decide. Yes, I have a young Eastern man acting for my defense. He seems reliable enough, though. It was an accident. A terrible accident. He assures me he can prove it. I must warn you. Oh, I know. I've heard already. You're gonna be prosecuting, aren't you? Yes. Since I returned to England, I've heard lots of stories. Barak, are you really... What? Never mind. I know that you have my best interest at heart. My friend is on trial. I wouldn't entrust it to anybody else. Of course, I fully understand. Thank you, Barak. Until then, I'll see you in court. Okay. So no more investigating for today then. We just get to go into the court situation. Do. I can't believe it's been 6 months since I last was allowed to work in court. And now here I am, back at the Old Bailey. Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor Harebrain. I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. The atmospheric pressure in here is off the charts. I've never felt anything like it. It's crushing me. I feel it at every time I'm here, that gravity. Well, this is Britain's highest court. But are you telling me it's fitted with some kind of device that can actually control air pressure? I think it's probably all in the mind. Ah, yes. Well, you won't let me down, will you, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm counting on you in today's trial to save my life. To save the secret of the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine that was made public. Yes, I understand. I know what I have to do. I have to establish that the explosion 2 days ago was nothing more than an unfortunate accident. Well, I'm sure there's nothing to worry about, really. Justice will prevail! My commiserations, Mr. Naruhodo. You appear to have lumbered with a most tiresome case here. Oh, it's him. Mr. Schultz, I didn't expect to see you here. That was very mean, Runao, leaving me all alone at home with Hurley. It took me at least an hour to wake him. Is it? Are you? Herlock Sholmes? Indeed, sir, I am he. Herlock Sholmes! Oh, I've heard all about your exploits, even whilst living in Germany. Ah, yes. Rand's magazine is on sale in Germany, too. This month's installment was sublime. Your deduction in The Adventure of Silver Blaze was wonderful. Ah, yes, a memorable case indeed. It concerns a snake, I seem to recall. No, that was Speckled Band. Well, thank you for coming. I do appreciate your support. I'm sorry to disappoint you, my dear fellow, but I'm afraid I can't stay. Oh. I have urgent business at Madame Tispel's. You mean your waxwork job? No, the waxwork abduction, of course. Madame has engaged my services. Okay, so when the court has to go into recess and we wait an extra day and have more investigation, clearly we're going to catch up with Sholmes at her place and get a bunch more information. So that's good. I'm pretty interested to find out more about what's going on there. Tispel's, I'm fully anticipating is going to end up being brought to the stand as a witness, probably on the second day. The first trial day is usually just spent on telling dummies that they're dumb. Ah, so you're trying to get to the bottom of that ransom note, are you? The week's wages depend on it, as does the safe return of the waxwork, naturally. As such, I intend to give it my undivided attention. Oh, well, never mind then. I understand. Of course, with my skills of observation and reasoning, resolving the matter will be as easy as proverbial pie. I shall return forthwith. How fast?
Faster than 278.
That's fast. He has bad base speed. Or until I solve the case, I shall have no money to afford a pie of any description. Oh, then you must absolutely give it your full attention, Hurley. Quite, Iris, quite. But life is riddled with irony, you know. Whenever I give something my full attention, I have quite an insatiable desire for a pie. One of the universe's intractable mysteries, you might say. Oh yes, quite, definitely, absolutely, I totally understand. Is someone a little starstruck? I wish you the very best of luck, Professor Harebrain. Why thank you! Sholmes and the greatest problem facing mankind. Wait, is that something I've seen? Before I depart, Mr. Naruhodo, a word in your ear, if you please. What's this about? As you have remarkably little grounding in science, I feel I ought to inform you. Oh, does he call his rent is the greatest problem facing mankind? As compelling as the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis hypothesis may be, a practical implementation such as was attempted by the professor at the Great Exhibition is quite impossible. But the professor said the demonstration was a success. Yes, it would appear that he fervently believes it was. I've read Professor Bunnybrain's paper about it too, Runo, and I have to say, I'm sure it can't be done. It could barely be done theoretically, let alone practically. So he's completely barking up the wrong tree. But how could an experiment that had no possibility of succeeding in fact succeed? That's contradictory. And it's that contradiction that will be the heart of the trial, I've no doubt. What's that supposed to mean? Okay, how about the guy's body got blown up in an explosion and he just flew over? Physically, just shoo. Now I must hurry along. I wish you the best of luck, my dear fellow. See you later, Hurley. Well, it looks like you're on your own today, Runo, but chin up, you can do it. Oh, what about you, Iris? No, I'm afraid I can't help. I have something I need to do. I see. It's gonna be a big surprise for you when you find out what it is. That sounds ominous. Counsel for defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Make your way into the courtroom at once. I think we need another drink for the start of the trial. What do you guys say? I'm gonna go make it. I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Okay, we're back, and we are starting the trial. I'm excited. Oop, I almost grabbed my PS5 controller. Okay, here we go. We're on our way! Yakuza 8 is so fucking cool, oh my god. Storytime, you're just living your best life with that. An experiment that the laws of science can't possibly succeed, and a scientist who's convinced that it did. That's the riddle you have to unlock here, Ryonosuke. That's the key to this case. So, is this the first time we've ever done a trial without a, like, assistant? I had kind of just assumed that, Iris would fill in for Susato since she's not here, but wow. So wait, 23rd October, that's the day that the ransom note mentioned, is it not? No. There she goes. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are sitting today for the public trial of Professor Albert Harebrain. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Prosecution is ready. I like that this is how he waits. Totally a theater kid. The defense is ready, my lord. I'm 6 months out of practice, and what's more? I'm without Susato-san today. Okay, wait. I would gag if Iris is going to get me Susato. Is it just my imagination, or does the air in here feel even more oppressive than usual? So, I must say I recollect the victim of this case all too well, Mr. O.D. Asmin. Mr. Asmin was well known as a financier, though that was merely a front for his diverse criminal activities. It was only a month ago that the man appeared in court prosecuted by you, Lord Van Zeeks. That ass was OD, man. But the jury unanimously found him not guilty. Because every member of the jury had been bribed by the sound of it. These powerful London criminals are prepared to go to extreme lengths to keep their freedom. But 2 days ago, on 21st October, Mr. Asmin met his end. The work of the Reaper, was it? Maybe we should bribe the jury too? Sorry, but we're not rich. If that is how your lordship would describe divine retribution. But the fact remains that Mr. Asmin's death was a direct result of the actions of the accused, Professor Harebrain. Very well then. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people. Are the 6 of you ready to fulfill your societal duty? I'm most gratified to have been selected to carry out this important civic duty, my lord. To have a man's fate in the palm of one's hand? Oh gosh, oh golly! It sends shivers down my spine. Science experiments, magic, conjuring tricks, courtroom trials all are nothing more than performances. Any spurious scholar that defiles the reputation of science deserves to hang. Oh my god. We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and, then settle on one. Is that it? Kevin.
What's that say?
This game is very well animated. No, sir. Is juror number 6 this guy? This juror seems corny. Not this Kuroi. Who let you in court with a gun? Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. That's the police killer Ottermole look-alike again. But he's as exhausted as ever, it seems. Now, as I'm sure you are all aware, the incident we are here to judge today tragically took place at the Great Exhibition shortly after its opening. Though the death toll could have been far worse, with the exception of the victim, no one was killed. Nevertheless, the dream of the science being exhibited rapidly turned into a nightmare for the spectators. A tragic turn of events, and as such, the eyes of all London, no, of the whole world will be on this trial. It is our duty to reach a swift and just conclusion, I feel. So, your opening statement, please, Lord Van Zeeks. At the heart of the incident is technology never before demonstrated anywhere in the world. One of science's latest developments, I take it. The government is keen to capitalize on the Great Exhibition to improve Britain's technological advantage. The technology being demonstrated by the accused was described as super high voltage instantaneous kinesis. Good lord! It's designed to disassemble human subjects using extremely high voltage electricity and beam them instantly to another location where they are subsequently reassembled. Is such a thing even within the realms of possibility? Well, I don't believe it, that's for sure. Disassembling people with electricity? My goodness, how shocking! Ha! The whole idea is absurd. The hypothesis would never stand up to scrutiny. Sir, I believe you are a fellow of the Royal Society, are you not? Are you an expert in your field? I am, and my word on the matter can be considered final. Instantaneous kinesis is poppycock. So this experiment and Mr. Sholmes, this expert and Mr. Sholmes are in agreement. It's impossible. What with the prosecution's view on the matter? The prosecution would assert that the accused's instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a success. What? What rot? Order, order! The professor's hypothesis is currently under investigation by the British government. If it is deemed to have merit, a substantial research grant would be made available. The accused made use of the intervention built on his new hypothesis to take Mr. Asmon's life, in order to be the sole benefactor of the grant. But this disastrous demonstration was no accident. It was carefully designed from the outset to end the life of the victim. Thank you, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution's stance is clear. But you will now bring forth witnesses to substantiate your claims. Gladly, my lord. Okay, cape's coming off. Bailiff, Show the first witnesses to the stand. Here we go again. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. I was on duty at the demonstration on the day in question and in charge of the following investigation. Albert Harebrain, scientist. You were born in England, but have been carrying out research in Germany in recent years, correct? Yes, that's right. After graduating from university here in Britain, I went to work in Germany and made an amazing discovery, which is what brought me back. I had to demonstrate my incredible hypothesis at the Great Exhibition. What you demonstrated was incredible, all right. An incredible explosion. But the science was a success. The instantaneous kinesis worked. Everyone saw it. They must have done. Yes, there was the terrible accident, but the demonstration of my hypothesis was a success. Well, that much is undeniable, as shown in this photograph taken by the forensic investigation team. Oh, what's going on here? I wonder what he's hiding in that hair. You think it's a wig jam? This was taken inside the Crystal Tower, I take it. The centerpiece of the exhibition, no less. A hair. For Tom. That's right, my lord. It seems the victim rammed straight into it. I see. Very well. Submit the photograph as evidence. As the courts heard, the victim of the incident was Mr. Odie Asman. Hold on. I have not had a chance to look at this. We have a crossbow. Okay. This doesn't look like the corpse of somebody that got blown up. I guess he was probably shot by a crossbow. He has a bruise on his... Oh, and a cut on his cheek. Well, that could happen. Okay. There have been a number of allegations made against the man, but putting them aside for the time being, he was the man who financed the research for the experiment and the demonstration itself. I see. So, to summarize the situation, the defendant is accused of taking the life of the man who funded his work. Would that be correct? Exactly. But couldn't it be that the explosion was caused by some malfunction in the apparatus used for the demonstration? That's right! That must be it! My splendid machine! My poor splendid machine! You saw it yesterday, didn't you? We can't even explain the wreckage thanks to the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What? What wreckage? The wreckage? But that being the case, how can the facts be established? Oh, that's not his voice. How can it possibly be determined whether this was an accident or a deliberate and malicious act? Extremely simply, my lord. I beg your pardon. Isn't that right, witness? What? Sorry? Me? No, your neighbor. Yes, sir, it was murder. Plain and simple. Anyone could state that with complete certainty. What? How can he possibly think that? Thank you, Inspector. I think We had better proceed to formal testimony. You will explain to the court on what grounds you claim this experiment to have been a front for murder. Okay, and I will press everything that gets said. The corpse that went crashing through the crystal tower had a broken neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake. But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it. No, we found a crossbow, sorry. An extraordinary business. In addition to suffering a broken neck, the victim was stabbed in the heart. Information I would really like to have heard from someone other than the judge. The coroner says death would have been all but instant from a wound like that. You could say, in fact, that the victim was killed twice by the accused. No, and no! That couldn't be further from the truth. I have here the experiment plan document that was submitted to the security team. The victim stood himself inside something called the bird cage, ready to be beamed instantly. Absolutely not. E-tier, what's the problem? What is this new emote that you're spamming? You're all FF14'd out. It's underwear this and weird snake face falafel that. Anyways, E-tier, I hope you're preparing yourself for the ritual sacrifice that will be among us tonight. Speaking of Among Us, have we been getting replies in Discord? Also, I feel like, where is Storm? We have not seen Storm recently. Is he alive? Is he okay? I see 7 people. Snakeface Falafel. Did he stay on the boat? I don't think so. Maybe he got on another boat and he didn't tell me. He's being sneaky. He's sneaking around. I'm sure Among Us will draw him out. He loves playing. To the second level of the Crystal Tower, about 25 yards away. The experiment did not go according to plan, however. I know, where is that guy? I spoke with him briefly a week ago. Yeah, he hasn't, I don't think I've seen him around, like, Twitch, like, all week. But, to be fair, I think he avoids, some of the streams that are Persona, because he wants to play himself, so... That's fair. But even on Symphony of War days, I haven't seen him. Yeah, no, Watch Party too. I hope he's okay. I'll DM him later. He's like my Peg Nation brother, so I feel like I gotta reach out. Oh. Well? Maybe he's chilling then. No, don't call out the lurk, it's so rude. Ah! He wouldn't care, I've known him for years. No, never mind, what? Blah! That's Astarion? Asti? I digress. Hopefully we see him tonight. Storm, if you're listening, I miss you. You can't ungift sub? Whose channel is that? Faya Asti. Oh my god, E-tier, when you shadily said last night, I'm gonna spend my time in Faya Kitty's stream, I thought that was the VTuber, but actually it was that Asterian crazed person during Baldur's Gate. I don't believe it! You know what else I don't beat? What I don't believe is that we beat Baldur's Gate. I feel accomplished because we did that. Alright, anyways. That's a super long game, right? And considering sometimes I just play games for like, you know, like Persona earlier, we did a 4-hour session. That is a drop in the ocean for that game's duration. You know, sometimes that's just how it has to be though, because we got lots of things to play. I feel like I might have like a community poll at some point just to be like, how do people feel about as much variety as we've been having the last like year? Because I feel like it's a little too much variety, but I really like having standard RPG, tactics game, visual novel. That's pretty much all we're doing, but I'm 99.997 done with FF10. What would I cut? It would probably be a tactics game slot. I like the VN slot as a huge VN stan. The VN slot will never go anywhere, because I love visual novels as a genre since my awakening, Dream Daddy, and then Danganronpa. Really, the awakening was Danganronpa, but Dream Daddy, I can't leave it out of the equation if we're talking about it. But I love streaming visual novels. Like, it is very, very nice playing these games. It would be the tactics slot, unfortunately. It would be like a... But you know what? I've tried Twitch without a tactics slot before, and I always end up freaking out and feeling like I need to play Fire Emblem. So I think what we're doing is probably for the best. The KFC one. Right, I miss Fire Emblem after not playing for like 2 weeks. It's that bad. And actually, right now, I extra have the itis for Fire Emblem. Because... we played Tactica before Symphony of War. So it's been a minute since we played Fire Emblem. And yeah, Dammy, wasn't the KFC one really raunchy? I think I wasn't interested in it at all. I'm beyond excited for Fata Morgana whenever you play that. It's legit your favorite game of all time. I think Fata Morgana might actually be the next VN after Great Ace Attorney. The best is letting me look at your lists. Oh, you want to see the list here? Here. There you go. You can look at it. Did you guys see I added some chaotic entries to, like, the bottom of the list? Dot hack sign for Jordan. Mato anomalies. I literally saw it on a list of games that the whole point of the video is to point out games that weren't good, but it actually looked good to me, so I was like, let's do it. And then Loop 8 is straight garbage, but I would still maybe play it. So what you're saying is that you need to beat Discount Femortis so you can get back to real FE? Correct. And tomorrow, Kuroi, we're going to spend... So tomorrow's going to be a duo. So we're going to do Symphony of War and then Ace Attorney. Tomorrow, that's it. And I am going to be spending probably the first 2 hours of stream prepping my team for that fight. Oh, really? Yeah, Dots, my plan right now is Fata Morgana as next. We are due for Eden's Garden Chapter 1. Like, we are past due. So, whenever that decides to pop up, we will be doing Chapter 0 plus Chapter 1. And, I have my eyes on another fan Danganronpa. Uzuchi Goku Massacre. That is releasing its Chapter 0, like, this month. So, those two are, like, we will just throw them into the mix at any time. Whenever they're ready. But, without those in consideration, Fata Morgana's next. Put me in, coach. What, in Symphony of War? I think we'll be fine, Kuroi. We actually just have to, like, make sure my team is sufficiently prepared for the amount of DPS you need for the last map. That's it. No, E-tier, you cannot go to bed. First of all, you never go to bed before midnight. Ever. So don't. And I will see you for Among Us. As the explosion was put into operation, there was a... Oh. As the machine was put into operation, there was a large explosion. The blast caused the beam transmitter to point higher than intended. Accordingly, the kinesis resulted in the birdcage materializing in mid-air, from where it subsequently fell, crashing through the glass of the Crystal Tower's large round window. My word! One assumes the victim's neck was broken upon impact with the tower then. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. The machine was just too powerful. But honestly, really, I swear, it was just an accident. A terrible accident. Unfortunately, that excuse can't save you. No, not considering the sharp murder weapon that pierced the victim's heart. Murder weapon? What are you saying? This is the autopsy report submitted by the coroner. The prosecution would like it entered into the court record. Wait, I need to look at that right now. I was there in person, you know? I saw the whole ludicrous performance. Right. I'm sure you have a really great point, but let me look at this first. O.D. Asman, age 47, British. October 21st, 2:20 p.m. for time of death. Coroner, Courtney Sith. Sure. Cause of death. Hemorrhage of a wound to the chest that pierced the heart, inflicted by a sharp implement. Twice? Hello. Additional observations, a broken vertebra, most likely resulting from impact after a sudden fall from considerable height. And the only other person on stage with Mr. Asman was that disgraceful excuse for a scientist. Then really, by all accounts, it must have been him. Hard to think otherwise, really. Very well. Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination, please. Oh, yes, my lord. I need to focus here. It's been a while. Okay, the corpse that went crashing through the Crystal Tower had a broken neck.
Hold it!
Are you suggesting that's because he fell from a considerable height? Exactly. Which highlights something else about this whole rum business. What's that? The fact that the instantaneous kinesis itself was a success. Ah. After the explosion, the cage was... Oh, the cage with the fella inside suddenly appeared out of nowhere in midair. So although the experiment ended in disaster, the so-called instantaneous kinesis did actually occur. Remind us, Professor, what was the cause of the fatal disaster? I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection, that's all. That was my mistake.
Hold it!
So the angle of projection is critical, is it? And you calculated it yourself, personally. Absolutely. The calculation is far too complicated for anyone but me to carry out. Only, you got it wrong, didn't you? Yes, that's right. That's the point. The calculation is so complicated, even I can make a mistake. Do people fall for that brazen confidence? I should try it. I took into account the subject's height and weight, the wind direction, the ambient temperature. I considered every possible variable, so I just don't understand how this could have happened. Obviously, then, you had to include the weight of the clothes Mr. Asman was wearing at the time, I suppose. Crackling comets! The answer should have been 3! So much for safety first. The 3 must be for safely third? Is that what he said? But the post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound.
Hold it!
Another fatal injury, you say? That doesn't make any sense. I didn't think I'd have to spell this out, but here we go. Just because there were 2 fatal wounds doesn't mean I'm saying the victim had 2 lives to lose, does it? 2 right. Obviously, at first, we thought the bloke had died due to his spine snapping in half as well. But you're saying that's not the case? You'll get your answer once I've finished my fish and chips. If you don't keep butting in every few seconds. But we all know that's a bottomless bag. The victim plummeted 30 feet into a glass tower. It would be reasonable to assume that that was the cause of death. Right, that's what we all thought, but it was a red herring, wasn't it? There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right in the heart. The defense knew nothing of this crucial information. The prosecution received this report from the forensic investigation team only this morning. That was the first we knew of it as well. I can only apologize for the impossibility of informing the defense. Sarcastic and insincere? Thanks. So, what was the nature of the sharp object? Among the accused tools that were used in the demonstration, one is of particular interest. This, a crossbow bolt. Ah, yes, that would appear to be some kind of screwdriver, wouldn't it? Ha 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 ha! There he is! My trusty little companion, Andrew! Andrew, of course. Ah, do you know each other already? He's one of my dear friends, like all my tools. I've named them all, you know, we're one big happy family. Andrew is my flathead screwdriver, of course. His brother Michael is a crosshead. Well, it would appear that your beloved Andrew has a red stain on his shank. He's super strange. Oh, that isn't... It's blood, beyond all reasonable doubt. No! And that's not all. The long, sharp shape of this Andrew fellow is completely consistent with the victim's wound. What? What? Order, order! The court will enter this friend of the defendant as evidence. Okay, I need to look at that. So one of Professor Harebrain's tools is the murder weapon. This is blood. Mr. Asman's, no doubt. This is the problem with looking at murder weapons. I've seen this unusually shaped handle before. It's the same screwdriver that was lodged in the grill on the floor of the kinesis machine, which could be important information, so I should definitely make note of it. A metal screwdriver that was found poking through the grill in the base of what remains of the kinesis machine. It is a very distinctive handle. So this wasn't fired from a crossbow? Are you serious? Okay. Okay, we'll take it. Great. So the victim was killed before he went anywhere, and this fella's the only one who could have done it.
Hold it!
What grounds do you have for saying that? Ha! You really need to ask? There were only 2 people on that public experimentation stage in front of a whole crowd. The victim, Mr. Odie Asman, and the accused, Professor Hairbrain. And we know for certain that before the experiment, the victim was alive. That's right, I saw him with my own eyes! Furthermore, following the explosion and kinesis, nobody went anywhere near the body. In fact, in other words, only someone else on stage with the victim could possibly have done it.
Excuse me.
Professor Hairbrain, do you have some information that may be relevant here? Professor! Sorry. I was just calculating the optimum coefficient of electrolysis to separate molecules in the human body. And the witness stand is the best place for that. It seemed as though you might have something to say
arithmetic.
about Inspector Gregson's last remark. Yes, that's right, of course. He just said that nobody else could have done it, didn't he? Yeah, that's right. Who else could have stabbed the victim, eh? I don't know, but there's no way that I possibly could have stabbed Mr. Asman, as you say. Explain, please, Professor. Of course, this cold-hearted policeman may not be aware, I suppose. But humans are warm-blooded mammals with blood running continuously through their veins. I had heard. Then surely, you see, if I'd plunged something the size of Andrew into the man's chest, the whole stage would have been a bloodbath. No, a blood swimming pool! You stabbed him and shifted? Okay, well, you'll have to make a formal testimony, Rosen. But thousands of Londoners were watching me at the time. And yet, not one of them claims to have seen a swimming pool of blood. Well, no, I suppose not. You see? Not one! True, I didn't see anything like that. Well done, Professor. That was a great counter-argument. Order, order! Pray forgive the discourtesy if I savor a drop from my hallowed chalice to accompany my old friends a-deucing. Here's to you, Albert. Oh, you're too kind, Barrick. I'm really not a patch on you. Forensics out here failing to do their job if a witness needs to bring it up? Yeah. Well, the game's set in like 1900, so forensic science is very new. Alright, real quick, I'm gonna go pee, so 1 sec.
Where are you?
Okay, we are back. I grabbed a quick snack because I was getting ravenous. When will Pangy cosplay Van Zeeks and toss a full glass of wine with perfect precision? We would not waste our wine. Rosen. You had chaotic Wendy's for dinner? Oh no, why was it chaotic? Kevin and I are having burgers for dinner, but we're gonna make them at home. Back to Morimura cosplay then. Oh lord. I'll have to get some water jugs to stuff my shirt with. Wendy's is chaotic in general lately with that pricing announcement. I thought they took it back. Yeah, Wendy's is one of those things that when I drive by it, I'm like, I wouldn't mind. You have to practice her 2 iconic poses. I'll have to look at the VODs. I just know one of them's like all ass. Hi, Twice. Yeah, I got ravenous during my short break there, so I went into the kitchen and I had some veggie straws and then a Girl Scout cookie or 2. Yeah. What's a Wendy's? Wendy's is like a fast food chain. They do hamburgers and fries. Or chicken sandwiches. It's like average-ish. It's just kind of expensive. And Frosties, right. They have like soft serve ice cream that they serve as a cheap dessert. Hee-ho! No, you're not. No? You've neglected to mention one crucial possibility. I have. A particular situation in which very little bleeding would result from a stab wound. Ah, of course. Inspector, enlighten the court, please. Yes, sir. Where are they going with this? Very well, you will amend your formal testimony now, Inspector Gregson. The weapon the victim was stabbed by must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air. What?
Hold it!
Why would you think that, Inspector? With any wound, it's only when you pull the weapon out that the profuse bleeding occurs. Whilst it's still lodged in the body, it acts as a stopper of sorts, for want of a better word. I see. You don't need a medical degree to be aware of this fact. It's common knowledge for any investigator. Where's Susato-san when I need her? Luckily, chainsaws aren't being used to kill people yet in 1900. Unthinkable. If you ask me, this bloke masked what he was doing from view with his body before stabbing Asmund in the chest. Then he beamed the victim off the stage with his fancy device, the screwdriver still where he planted it. I would never do such a thing. Not to my precious tools. I would never use them for such dirty work. You only use tools for the intended purpose. That's common knowledge for any scientist. The fact remains, the lack of blood at the scene can easily be explained, as the prosecution has demonstrated. So that's all the testimony I have to work with. I had no idea the victim had been stabbed. That changes everything. Did Van Zeeks keep that to himself until now on purpose to gain the advantage? Oh well, I suppose all I can do is press these witnesses for as much new information as possible. Okay, so when it comes to presenting, I think we have to use... the crossbow. Okay. First one crashing through the crystal tower that had... Oh, we thought he broke his neck. I made a minor miscalculation in the angle of the beam projection. That's all my mistake. Post-mortem examination revealed another injury, a fatal wound. There was a lesion in his chest where he'd clearly been stabbed by something sharp right through the heart. The weapon the victim was stabbed by must have been left in his body whilst he was beamed through the air. Well... This doesn't help. Should I just try presenting the crossbow? Or metal screwdriver that was found poking through the grill in the base of what remains of the kinesis machine. So if this is still in the machine, then it couldn't have... Okay, we'll use the screwdriver.
Objection!
You say that while the weapon remains in the body, there's very little bleeding. Is that unequivocal? Look, there was no blood on the experimentation stage, even though that's where the fellow was stabbed. The only explanation for that is if the screwdriver was still in his body, stopping any heavy bleeding. It's common medical knowledge, my learned friend. Even on your side of the world. Yes, but about the screwdriver. Thing is, we actually saw it at the scene ourselves, on the experimentation stage. What? It was on the floor by the wreckage of the machine, poking through a metal grill. I went to pick it up, but the inspector stopped me. Isn't that right, Inspector Gregson? Ah, well, now that you come to mention it, yes. Inspector, are we to understand that you permitted the defense counsel to investigate? That you contravened the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Acts? No, not at all. I wouldn't do that. I just let him look, nothing more. I was very clear he wasn't to touch a thing. Yes, that's true. This screwdriver was in plain sight on the stage. But it shouldn't have been, should it? What are you getting at? If this tool had been in the victim's body, when the victim was beamed away from the machine, then it shouldn't have been on the stage. Ah! That's right. It should have been beamed across to the Crystal Tower along with Mr. Asman. And been found still lodged in the victim's chest. Urgh! Order, order! How do you explain this, Inspector? Well, I don't... It looks as though everything that the victim had on his person moved with him when he was beamed. If the screwdriver was still in his chest when the instantaneous kinesis occurred, obviously, that should have beamed to the destination as well. You... This is a strange situation. Even though people are saying that this instantaneous kinesis is a scientific impossibility, we're still basing arguments on the assumption that it did actually take place. Alright, I'm to tighten the screws here. My lord, if the prosecution is unable to explain this inconsistency in its argument, we can only conclude that the testimony given in support cannot be relied upon. Lord Van Zeeks is stumped. Do you have something to say, witness? Yes, I knew it. It bears out. The equations hold. Mr. Naruhodo, don't worry! About what? Without delving into the details, there is no inconsistency. What? Even if Andrew had been lodged in Mr. Asmon's chest, my trusty tool wouldn't have moved. Andrew remaining on the stage is consistent with my calculations. What? Yeah, I agree with Van Zeeks. It would seem your illusions have been shattered. Clearly, we should hear the accused's explanation. Or should I say, this brilliant scientist's explanation. Just when I'd found an inconsistency in the prosecution's argument. Scientists. Very well, the defendant will testify again. Provide us with the scientific explanation as to why the inconsistency asserted by the defense fails to hold. In the name of Apollo, I will, my lord. The inconsistency explained. To be clear, I'm still at this stage of gathering data in my research. My hypothesis states the kinesis cannot transport metal, though, hence the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. This is really interesting that he's bringing up evidence that would kind of implicate him. We'll just take it. He's throwing. Actually, though, Mr. Asmon was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. So, the thrust of your testimony, Professor, is... The whole screwdriver isn't metal, though, is it? Shouldn't have taken other bits with it. Yeah, true! Well, actually, can we see? Oh, maybe it is actually... This looks like it could be wood or plastic. I mean, we're pretty much just waiting to prove that this guy was not molecularly transported through the air. Like, we have to still get there. That based upon his hypothesis, metal objects cannot be moved by this method of instantaneous kinesis. In other words, since the screwdriver is made of metal, even if it remained lodged in the victim's chest, its subsequent discovery on the stage, despite the victim being found elsewhere, is not an inconsistency. We have to take a quick trip to Steins Gate to disprove that? Please no. We never have to go back there again. We never have to Tutoru ever again. And therefore... Yes, and we locked the gate. And therefore, Professor Albert Harebrain could still have been the killer. My great hypothesis holds, you see. We had to make the cage used to contain the subject from wood for that very reason. I was not addressing you, witness. Professor Harebrain. Yes? Whose side are you on here? I don't take sides, Mr. Naruhodo. No. My only interest lies in upholding my hypothesis. I'm a scientist, after all. Is he working for us or against us? It's very hard to tell. Let's see how you cross-examine this testimony, my Nipponese friend. Yes, fire away, Mr. Naruhodo. He's so stupid. Harebrain indeed. Alright. To be clear, I'm still at the stage of gathering data in my research. And yet, your retort to my argument wasn't lacking in confidence in any way. No scientists can find the truth without first finding self-belief. Those were the words of a certain scientist I hold in very high esteem. But you realize that disproving my argument puts you in a very precarious position, don't you? No scientist should strive to protect himself more than he strives to protect the truth. More words of the same great scientist, you know? Words that are causing me a lot of trouble. Who is this scientist? I'm afraid I couldn't tell you, Mr. Naruhodo. But as soon as I remember the magnificent genius's name, you'll be the first to know! It might be worth keeping the names of your idols to mind? You're wasting your breath, my learned friend. This scatterbrain even forgets my name at times. So Lord Van Zieks really did have a friend once, but I didn't notice hell freezing over. My hypothesis states the kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put.
Hold it!
Your hypothesis states it? So this isn't proven then? No, of course not. It's merely a hypothesis, but a good one, based upon thousands of calculations. But it is widely known that metals cannot be decomposed by electrolysis. Yes, of course. So I am right. My hypothesis is clearly correct. What is it about incriminating himself that makes this man so happy? It's the whole reason that the birdcage is made of wood, you see. Sorry, the birdcage? Yes, that's what I call the C. obtusa cage, in which Mr. Asman was placed for kinesis. Ah, the jail cell in which the victim was detained. It does indeed seem to be made of a timber of some sort. I'll thank you not to refer to it as an instrument of incarceration, your lordship. In short, any weapon lodged in the victim, when he was beamed away by instantaneous kinesis, would have been left behind on the stage if it was made of metal, correct? Yes, that's it. Yes. It all fixed perfectly with my mathematical model. But the ultimate conclusion, then, is that the defendant alone had the opportunity to inflict this fatal injury on the victim, is it not? Indeed, sir. Someone beam me out of this nightmare. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. You seem to be pleased by that. Yes, another example of my hypothesis holding true. But I sense some sarcasm, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you not pleased? No. I knew it. At the end of the day, I'm the one responsible for Mr. Asmund losing his life. The advancement of science is no excuse. I know that. No, you're quite right. Tell the court, did you have a close relationship with Mr. Asmund? Oh, well, no, not really. I mean, I'd only met him 2 or 3 times. And we only ever discussed my hypothesis and the project, and the research grant, of course. Mr. Asmund was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. That's the extent of the testimony, then. Thank goodness for that. I don't want him doing any more damage. He's already basically proven that he could have been the culprit. But it seems as though he really cares about defending his hypothesis. Still, I wonder, what if his hypothesis is just fundamentally flawed? Okay. Still gathering research. Mr. Asmund was the patron of my research. Without him, it wouldn't have been possible. Yeah, we didn't press this or the last part. How do you come to know Mr. Asmund in the first place? A year ago now, a small provincial science journal published a little paper about my work. That's a scientific journal. Good gracious, I should need new spectacles. I might have had an extraordinary hypothesis and great promise, but at the time, I had no money. I had to eat tiny little meals at a tiny little cafe and drink watered-down water out of a tiny little glass. But Mr. Asmund read the paper and came to visit me at my tiny little laboratory. And offered you money to help fund your work. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. I handled the theoretical side of things, and Mr. Asmund provided me with an engineer for the practical. And the 3 of us produced that fantastic machine together. The machine that you brought to the Great Exhibition to demonstrate. We had to apply to the government for some sort of inspection to be allowed to the exhibit, I think. Yeah, this is all sounding really sus. Like, he went to this guy knowing what his science was about, and then he staged maybe his own death? Could it be? I was thinking more that his testimony against himself is self-immolation. Yeah. I mean, he is definitely doing that. He's basically giving us reasons why he's guilty, so... We had to apply to the government for some sort of inspection to be allowed to the exhibit, I think. I didn't understand all that side of things. Mr. Asmund took care of it. He was a wonderful man. Really, I owe him everything. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together.
Hold it!
When you say that you built the machine together, does that mean that you were involved in its construction? Yes, well, not exactly. I'm not good with the practical side of machines myself, so the physical construction was done by an engineer. Little remains of your creation now, though. Following the explosion, repair will no doubt be impossible. Yes, I realize that, but still. If someone were to gather all the broken parts, they could discover the secret of my hypothesis. But Mr. Asmund and I toiled over that machine for so long, we put our hearts and souls into it. I have to protect our work. So what's left of the machine must be kept safe. That's only fair, because what happened was an accident. Okay, so... I wonder what if his hypothesis is fundamentally flawed. So what amongst my evidence am I able to prove that his hypothesis is wrong? Apparently it's not that. Shows a stab wound to the chest. Well, wouldn't this be made of metal? He's wearing glasses, right? Maybe not. I wonder. I'm gonna make another drink in a second. Yeah, I don't know what to use against him. I know the crossbow's gonna come in. Very distinctive handle, it says. The glasses could be a good find. Right, maybe. We've got this torn piece of fabric. Rubber was found under the experimentation stage at the exhibition grounds. There are scorch marks. Well, the glasses, unfortunately, aren't, like, you can't observe them, so I kind of doubt that that's gonna be what it is. Classic, very classic Ace Attorney. Yeah, he is a Peaceful Dead guy for sure. I mean, it seems clear to me that this screwdriver was shot from the crossbow. If that's actually possible, I don't know. But behind a tree under the experimentation stage at the exhibition. So yeah, somebody shot him and then sparked an explosion, or maybe the explosion actually was an accident? I don't know. Alright, well, I'm gonna go make another drink, and then I'll present something to this, so I'll be back in, like, 2 minutes. Why, hello. I am back. Okay. We are resuming. Alright, I don't really know what evidence I'm using here, but we're gonna figure it out. Still at the stage of gathering data in my research. Hypothesis states that kinesis cannot transport metal, though. Hence, the metal weapon would have stayed put. In other words, the point just raised by Mr. Naruhodo isn't an inconsistency at all. Mr. Asman was the patron of my research. Without him, my work wouldn't have been possible. Now I have a duty to protect the incredible machine that we built together. Okay, so... they really want me to attack the hypothesis. So this is the one I have to present. My hypothesis states kinesis cannot transport metal. Okay. I can try. I don't think it's gonna lead to anything.
Objection!
Professor Harebrain, you say that according to your hypothesis, nothing made of metal can be beamed by instantaneous kinesis using the machine you made, is that right? Yes, that's right. Spot on, exactly correct. In that case, I'd ask you to have a look at this photograph that was taken at the scene. Oh my god, the glasses thing is actually what it is. In particular, I'd like you to pay attention to the victim's face. You can clearly see that Mr. Asman is wearing a pair of spectacles with a metal rim. What? Metal? No. Metal can't. That's not metal. We've already established that the proposed murder weapon, the screwdriver, was found on the stage. However, if your hypothesis correctly predicted that outcome, it should have also predicted that the metal-rimmed spectacles would be found in the same place. Yeah, Dots, after looking through all of the court record, I was like, this is kind of the only thing, right? Professor Harebrain, this isn't easy for me to say, but your hypothesis is clearly flawed. Ugh! Order, order, order! Council, what is this? What is the implication of this? If, on the day in question, the alleged instantaneous kinesis never actually took place, then it's entirely possible that the victim was killed somewhere other than the stage. And, in that case, someone other than the defendant could have been the culprit. But my hypothesis is sound! I proved it that day. The experiment was a success. The experiment was proof of all my work. If I could say something here in my capacity as a fellow of the Royal Society. Yes, juror number 4, go ahead. As a man of science, there's one thing I simply cannot abide. And that's a fraud who pretends to be a fellow man of science. What? Wait! Great Scott! Are you suggesting my science is suspect? It's just been disproved, hasn't it? In front of all of us. In other words, the whole demonstration was a complete nonsense from start to finish. Believe me, my fellow jurors, when I tell you that this man is a heel, a bounder, and a fraud. I say the wreckage of the machine should be stripped down and thoroughly examined. No! Never! That machine is the essence of my entire hypothesis. It's protected by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. What the devil is that blessed act all about, eh? Who made up such a daft rule? I don't like the way this seems to be going. What's the best way for me to help the professor? I guess I'll object? I don't know.
Objection!
Professor Harebrain has yet to perfect his invention. That would seem to be the case, yes. But even so what? Going to such trouble and expense to create a fake machine to display in public? I know, I need Susato. I'm really hoping that Iris is going to get her. He would have absolutely no reason to do such a thing. Yet an obvious reason to do exactly that. For the research grant money. If the government was foolish enough to have deemed the man's ridiculous notion plausible, he and his conspirators would have received a handsome sum indeed. Conspirators? What would be the value of such a grant? 10 pounds? You're an order of magnitude out, madam. 500 pounds a year. Oh, I could live in some on that, not much for years. The Society's noticed an increase in bogus public demonstrations in the field of science recently, and plenty of scientists are arguing with each other to get the largest slice of the funding cake. People's greed is plenty motive enough for murder, I assure you. No, I haven't deceived anyone, least of all the government. My hypothesis is sound. Science is sound. Please, you must believe me.
Objection!
No matter how unbelievable this hypothesis may seem to you, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that the victim was transported instantly to Crystal Tower. Which means that the experiment was a success. Ah, Barrick! And therefore, the only person who could possibly have committed this murder is the accused. Ah, Barrick. Where is this heading? I have no idea. My lord, if I may. Yes, Lord Van Zeeks. The prosecution would like to summon new witnesses to the stand. New witnesses? What would be the nature of their involvement? They were spectators of the demonstration at the exhibition, who were occupying special seats. Eyewitnesses? Very well, the court grants the prosecution's request. I should very much like to hear from eyewitnesses to the incident. Prosecution's stance is clear. This experiment was no... Postiche? What is that word? The accused killed the financier victim there on the public stage before the very eyes of the spectators. Now, my learned friend. Oh, yes? It's time for you to make your own stance clear. There's clearly a flaw in the professor's hypothesis. I can definitely see that. But where does that leave me? We shall take a short recess now, during which time the prosecution will prepare its new witnesses to take stand. As you wish, my lord. Good. In that case, court is adjourned for 20 minutes. Okay. Alright, we got about 30 more minutes of Ace Attorney. And then it will be time for community nights. Is everyone enjoying the trial? I feel like it's moving at its usual pace, so we're kind of slowly creeping towards more info. I'm gonna just post again in Among Us so peeps know. Okay. Alright. Mr. Naruhodo. What on earth were you playing at just now? Or rather, what on earth were you playing at all along? My hypothesis, my amazing hypothesis. You've been picking holes in it from the start. Sorry about that. But you promised me. You said you'd prove that dratted explosion was an accident, not murder. You said you'd keep my precious invention from falling into anyone else's hands. But all you've done so far is try to undermine me. Yes, I did make you a promise, you're right. I said that I'd believe in you and fight for your freedom to the very end. But I also told you I was no scientist. I don't understand your hypothesis. Fact is, there's an undeniable flaw in your logic, isn't there? Ah, but if I just run through some equations... Yes, you see? It's because my work is incomplete. Perhaps it is. Nevertheless, a man died as a consequence, didn't he? Oh. Oh, no! You're right. You're so right. It's all my fault, and I have no right to blame you for my failures. I'm a disaster, not just as a scientist, but as a human being. Well, that might be a little over the top. And while we're on the subject, what about Barrick? He's being awful! Blaming his old university friend to be a murderer, you mean? Hello, Pause. Happy Saturday. How's it going? I'm also a disaster as a human being, so, like, relatable. You're relating to Hairbrain? Not this. He's a disaster, not just as a prosecutor, but as a human being. Oh, but no, wait. He's the Reaper, isn't he? Perhaps he's not classified as Homo sapiens anymore. Glad that's cleared up. Can I double-check something with you? Yes? What? The machine that demonstrated you... The machine and demonstration you prepared, they were based entirely on your hypothesis, I presume? There was no trickery involved. I drew the plans for the machine with my very own hands. Every line was painstakingly drawn with the firm belief that science is the future. So yes, it's true that my hypothesis hasn't reached maturity yet, but please, Mr. Naruhodo, you must believe in it. Alright, Professor, I understand. Counsel, defendant. The prosecution's witnesses are ready to take the stand. Court is about to be in session again. Make your way into the courtroom, please. It all hinges on that demonstration. If the professor's hypothesis is sound as he claims, it leaves him as the only person who could possibly have killed the victim. But on the other hand, Mr. Sholmes was adamant. A practical implementation such as what was attempted by the professor. Right, so I think the crux of this case is going to come down to proving that the experiment didn't actually take place. So even if his hypothesis says whatever, the actual events say otherwise. And then we just go from there. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby reconvene the proceedings of this court. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready for the witnesses to testify? The prosecution is ready, my lord. As is the defense, my lord. So, Lord Van Zeeks, I believe these next witnesses saw the demonstration on the day in question with their own eyes. Indeed, they did. And as luck would have it, one of them is a police detective. That means Gina. So the testimony we're about to hear can be considered highly reliable. Perfect, a detective of all people. The prosecution's stance remains unchanged. Though it ended in tragedy, the demonstration on the day in question was scientifically sound. And consequently, the sole person with the opportunity to have committed this act of murder is the only other individual to have been present on the stage at the time, the accused. Starberry, hello! Happy Saturday. You stand Gina so hard. Ugh. She was annoying during the last trial. Well, the last one she was in. Thank you, counsel. The prosecution's position is clear, so bring forth your witnesses now. Bailiff, show the witnesses in. The witnesses whose proximity to the incident on the day in question will clarify the truth unequivocally. Good lord! And yeah, we expected to see you, Gina. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court to hear. My name is Balthazar Loon. I am the imprecio of all the hot air balloons in vicinity of the Experimento stage. You know, I definitely wondered if those hot air balloons in the diagram were going to come into play. My name is Wilhelm Gottsriek Sigismund Ormstein. I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia. I'm very rich. Inspector Gina Lestrade, Scotland Yard. I'm a great detective, even Erlock Sholmes agrees. I was on duty at the exhibition, and I got up in one of them balloons. It was amazing. Gina. Again. Okay, Naruhodo is me. But she did mention she'd seen the disaster from up in a balloon, actually, didn't she? And she clearly loved every minute of it. There were 3 balloons flying near the public experimentation stage when the incident occurred. 2 of these witnesses were in one such balloon at the time and saw the events unfold from the skies above. You make it sound like they were in the clouds. It was only an altitude of circa 60 feet, very low. Well, you can't see nothing if you fly too high, can you? Clairdelune? Little different. 60 feet, about 18 meters then. Thank you for your introductions. Now, you will give your formal testimony for the court. Kindly describe exactly what you witnessed, especially those of you who had a vantage point above the stage. It was an incident. Terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged. There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second, another bang in the sky beside us. What? And from amid the smoke, a cage appeared out of nowhere. The cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower. I don't trust this guy. I think they had a second cage on one of the air balloons and they dropped it. I didn't get a good look at the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower. A most extraordinary collective account, I must say. Could I just clarify something? There's a detail in the witness's testimony that I've not heard any mention of until now. The second explosion. Specifically that there were 2 explosions. More precisely, 2 explosions in 2 separate places. Yes. When the demonstration began, the balloon carrying the 2 witnesses was around here. There were other balloons in the nearby at the time, carrying other passengers as well, to be clear. Then, as power was supplied to the machine for the demonstration, the first explosion occurred. The so-called birdcage that contained the victim disappeared from the stage a moment later. The second explosion occurred directly adjacent to the balloon carrying the witnesses. The birdcage appeared at the site of the explosion, subsequently to plummet down into the crystal tower. I was very surprised. Suddenly a cage appeared before my eyes, viz a person inside. The blast was so hot, but I didn't want to miss a sing, so I kept my eyes wide. I still have lots of money. Precisely. Who is this curious infant? I'm told he is a young noble of Bohemian royalty. Apparently he's disguised himself in order to steal unnoticed into the Great Exhibition. Yeah, I am here in London on a sightseeing trip, viz my elementary school. We will have the benefit of a child's point of view in the testimony. Do we really need that? Then I remove my mask. This is what I look like. Ah yes, I see. A delightful face, I'm sure. Yeah, everybody says so. Great disguise, then. The point is, the testimony of these witnesses further substantiates the facts for the court. Namely, that despite ending in an explosion, instantaneous kinesis was successfully demonstrated. And furthermore, that until the arrival of the police, no one approached the Crystal Tower, where the victim fell. Therefore, only the accused, who was with Mr. Asmin on stage, could possibly have committed the murder. Yes, thank you, counsel. The prosecution's views on the matter are quite clear. So, the defense's cross-examination now, please. Yes, my lord. So I'm guessing, what's his name? The guy that died. Asmin, right? He probably had a body double. Someone they already killed. And they had him in the air balloon, and they dumped him. So where's the real Asmin? Because, like, right, there's no way he was transported through the air by this weird, wacky machine. So... how's your work? Okay. Oh. Fiddle, you're scaring him. It was an incredible incident, terrible. I am only grateful that my balloons were not damaged.
Hold it!
There were 3 balloons flying above the experimentation stage at the time, I understand. See. All 3 of them, my bellissimi bambini. They are very popular, signor. Some people will pay £10 for one ride. £10? That's more than my annual stipend. Yikes. £20 a month. That is my pocket money. Royals have all the luck. I got up there for free, I did. Played the old, I work for Her Majesty police card, you know? Detectives that have all the luck. If they're so popular, why would you only be operating such a small number of balloons, though? Because if I have too many in the skies, they would crash into each other. The operations for the balloons were decided by lots, with each operator manning a particular area. See, and the zone above public experimentation stage is the most profitable. The other impresarios, they hate me. Thank you, witness. I think the court has a clear picture of the arrangements for balloon rides at the exhibition. Perhaps we could hear more about what you actually witnessed of the incident. Right, I can fill you in there, my lord. There's this huge bang from the stage, and then the next second, another bang in the sky beside us. Okay. So you actually saw the accident happen from up in the air. Yep, isn't it amazing what a detective gets to do, eh? I'm telling you, Odo, being a lawyer's a mug's game. You should join the force and we can go flying together. You know me so well. So, well, anyway, could you tell us exactly what you saw, do you think? Everything. We saw everything because we were up above it all. That dodgy cove climbing onto the stage, into the cage, and that dodgy professor pulling all them levers. And that's when it happened. That's when there was that massive bang and the cage disappeared, just like that. You are describing the moment the subject's body was decomposed by the electricity, I believe. I don't know what to make of it, but there was another bang right in my ear. I looked around, and there was a huge great fireball right next to us in the sky. Oh. And there was nothing there before.
Excuse me.
Master Gotts? Does your memory of the day differ? Mine teacher at elementary school said that when you meet someone for the first time, you should always use their full name. Ah, yes, what was it again? Wilhelm... Oh my god, not this. Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund Ormstein. Just the 4 names, then? Point is, do you have something to say? Something to add in response to Detective Gina Lestrade's last remark, perhaps. Oi! Get it right, Odo. It's Inspector Lestrade. Why does everyone have a problem with how I address them at the moment? That is not what I saw. Oh? Yeah? There was a second explosion, and it was right beside our balloons. That is true. But I'm sure... Which is what I said in it. 1 minute, there was nothing there. The next, a massive explosion. Mine teacher at elementary school said that when someone else is speaking, if you are rude enough to interrupt, you will have the most awful life imaginable. Are all Bohemians brought up to be so full of joy? Just before the second explosion happened next to our balloon, I clearly witnessed a green balloon flying in the sky. A green balloon? Huh? You what? I never saw nothing like that. Well, I did. I saw it. And you can't say I didn't. I will complain to the council. I will cry and scream. My testimony is the truth. I am Bohemian Prince. You cannot say it's a lie. That is not allowed. Playing the bleeding royalty card, are ya? Typical. Says the orphan who likes to remind people she works for Her Majesty's police. In that case, young man, I must ask you to amend your formal testimony in the interest of cordial national relations between Great Britain and Bohemia. It was not the sky that exploded, it was a green balloon that was next to ours at the time. Eat here, wake up! We got 10 minutes. A green balloon, you say? Are you sure about that? Of course, I am sure. I'm proud Bohemian prince. All these questions are making me boring. I think you mean bored. Ah, English is very annoying. The language of my countrymen is far superior. Ragazzo. Oh no, not this. Not my Giovanni voice coming back. Ragazzo, it is very wrong to lie. Lie? Flying balloons never explode for the same reason the planets never explode. It is logical! Please tell me that doesn't mean logical. You insult me. You all if you insult me, you insult all of Bohemia. Madai. I will have the army come and shoot all of your stupid balloons out of the sky. All of them! Oh my god. Here you are, your highness. If only all international incidents were so easily resolved. Now that peaceful relations have been restored here in the courtroom, perhaps we could return to the testimony. Did you see the moment that the cage materialized, Mr. Loon? No. I did not see the explosion myself. However, the cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower.
Hold it!
Did you see that actually happen? No, in reality it did not. I saw after it hit the tower. There was a grand confusion around the stage. I ran to see what had happened. I was terrorized by the idea that one of my balloons had crashed. I suppose they are his livelihood. And when I looked up into the sky, all my precious balloons were still there. I saw it though. I saw it slam into the tower. After all, I am a detective now. Then tell us what you saw, Inspector Lestrade. That's what I like to hear.
Hold it!
Was it you who gave the order to keep people away? Use your head, Odo. How could it have been me? I was up in a balloon, weren't I? Right. So because I weren't available, it was the boss who had to leg it over there. He was getting shoved and kicked all over the panicking spectators as he tried to seal off the scene. It was a real sight to behold, I can tell you. Amazing. Or Inspector Gregson. So anyway, I couldn't see the cage well because of all the smoke. And I didn't really want to see, to be honest. I was scared out of my wits. Keep it together, Inspector. Prosecution really is asserting that the demonstration was genuine. But what if it was actually some kind of switch-around trick instead? That would mean that the victim was never actually on the stage in the first place. The two explosions would have thrown everyone watching into a panic for sure. I think I need to find out more about what exactly people saw at the time. So, one of the testimonies got amended, right? It was the kid. I feel like we might have to disagree with that. Incident incredible. I'm only grateful that my balloons were not damaged. Huge bang from the stage, and then next second, there's another bang in the sky beside us. It was a green balloon that was next to ours. So there's no balloon, right? There's this one. But Van Zeke said it was this. There's no sketch of a balloon over here. Wait. This has to be a part of that balloon. Okay, wait, that's important. The cage, it fell from the sky and crashed into the crystal tower. I didn't get to look at the cage. but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower. Not this. So, am I presenting this to agree?
Objection.
No, that's not an objection. Put me out of my misery. I got that one wrong. Damn it! Okay. It was not the sky that exploded. It was a green balloon that was next to ours at the time. I really don't know. Okay. The cage, it fell from the sky like a stone and crashed into the crystal tower. What piece of evidence? I didn't get a look inside the cage, but no one went near it after it crashed into the tower. I don't want a logic dive. That sounds dangerous. I think I need to figure out what exactly people saw at the time. I feel like I'm missing... Did I press everything? I think I pressed everything. I mean, I could present the piece of fabric from the balloon.
Objection.
Mr. Loon, in your testimony, you said that all 3 balloons you had operating at the time were undamaged. Okay, wow, this is actually it. See, that is correct. If they had been caught in the explosiones, it would have been terrible. I wonder if you might know what this is. Ah, I think that might be C, part of a balloon. A burnt piece of the fabric of the envelope. Sorry, the envelope? Pardon, that is the large round part of the balloon which becomes filled with hot air. It is made from very thick fabric lined with rubber. You do not want it to rip when you are in the sky. Just as I thought. This piece of cloth was found near the experimentation stage. In other words, as Master Gotz testified, a green balloon did indeed explode that day. If all the balloons in the sky above the experimentation stage belong to you, Mr. Loon, then your statement that they were all undamaged clearly contradicts the evidence. No! Okay, we actually got through that one kind of easily. If the balloon exploded that day, maybe everyone on board was killed. Oh no, having just spent 10 whole pounds for the experience? How awful.
Objection.
The instantaneous kinesis did occur, but after the explosion on the stage, the point of materialization shifted to a location occupied by a balloon. I love the girl with her infinite corns. Causing the balloon to explode, yes, eminently plausible. An unfortunate traffic accident, as it were, but changes nothing about the pertinent facts. This I cannot accept. Why not, Mr. Loon? You are suggesting that I am a liar. That person's died in a balloon incident. There's no need to get fired up, Mr. Loon. The victim was the sole fatality that day. That's right, and I will prove it. Balthazar Loon is not a liar. There was no such balloon in the sky. It is non-possible. You're saying it's impossible? Why? This court has more important matters to discuss than the number of balloons that were operating that day.
Objection.
But we can't ignore the fact that nobody appears to have known anything about this other balloon until now. My lord, the defense calls for a further testimony from Mr. Loon. Alright, before he goes into it, that's gonna be our AA session for today. We have to start moving on into Among Us for community night. We got about 3.5 hours here. And we're gonna be doing more of this tomorrow. So, yes, we made great progress today. And we will be continuing tomorrow. I am going to go pee and summon the Among Us people, so I will be back in just a few minutes. But prepare yourselves, it's going to be community night and drinks and lots of random fun. So see you guys in a sec.
Watch and learn, kitten.
Attack! Strike a pose!